Lynch, throw your headphones in because we're bringing in our good and longtime friend, Bryn Griffiths, Mighty Mouth from Edmonton, joining us today, who has been the battle of his life, and he's come out a winner, a champion. How you doing, Bryn?
I'm doing pretty good. You guys?
Good. Well, who cares about us? Everybody's just happy to see that you're on the air with us today. Do you want to jump immediately into sports? You're probably sick of talking about your health.
Yeah, it's been a crazy 7 months health-wise. There's no denying that. But we can talk about that if we have time.
Whatever you want to talk about. But this.
Okay, let's.
Well, you were an Oilers employee. You've done sports talk in Edmonton and Calgary, former Moose Jaw Warriors broadcaster. So you've been in and out of sports your whole life, in and around sports your whole life. Is the return to play all about money, or is it what I'm saying? It's just stimulating the economy and getting back playing.
I think the answer is yes to both. I do not believe that they they got to get the game back going again. There's no denying that, because as I just heard you guys talking about, you got to start somewhere. These guys have actually embarrassed the other leagues, I think, in terms of how they've done this and how they've rolled this out. Everything I've heard out of both the bubble here in Edmonton and the bubble out of Toronto has been spectacular. Somebody is going to bitch, whine, and complain about the food or whatever. But you know what? There's a lot of guys in that bubble, so I would expect to hear something like that. I've heard nothing. They have done a great job. They still, at last report, I haven't heard a thing about any positive testing. Now, they could be just, covering that up or whatever. But when I look at how baseball's done things, oh my God, I just can't believe I'm shocked they're still running. The NBA, somebody is going to continue to leave the bubble to go look for fun somewhere. But for the most part, the NBA has done okay. But I think the National Hockey League has actually led the way in how to do this. So yes, is it all about money? There's no denying it's all about money. The other thing, though, is that if you just let the leagues go too long without restarting, and all we got to do is take a look at the Canadian Football League. If I cannot tell you how scared I am if they don't have a season this year, that this league's not coming back. So I think it's a bit of both. I really believe it's a bit of both, because I just don't. If the league goes down, the CFL goes down this year, it ain't coming back, in my opinion.
I agree. And by the way, from some of our viewers, Rachel Dom Tassoni says, nice to hear your voice again. Get back on the air in YEG soon. And similar to that, Nelson Hakowich, our VP of Sim Events, says Bryn's audio and video setup is amazing. So maybe we should just stop for a minute and say what you're doing, Bryn, on Twitch. You got all the best technical gear and you're doing your own show. It's very similar to what we're doing. So we might as well pump that where people can get your opinions.
Sure. Well, you know what? A good friend of ours, Don Collins, who is a longtime program director at The Fan in Toronto, had asked me about going on Twitch every Monday through Friday for a couple of hours to do like a sports show or just a general show. It's not like I haven't been through enough over the last 7 months where I can't talk about pretty much anything, even politics, which I don't want to do. But I held off for a little bit, and actually it's ended up being a good thing. But I'm really serious thinking about getting going on Twitch, which is really, it started out as a gaming channel. But when I told the 25-year-old and the 13-year-old in our house that I had a Twitch channel, they were vibrating. They couldn't believe it. I had never heard of Twitch. I thought it was something that I just, I'd be sitting there watching television and I'd just kind of do one of those. But the reach on Twitch is over 110 million people. And, Rod, what we have done here over the last year, and you've done a great job with your show, is we found new ways to reinvent ourselves. Radio is still a huge part of my life, and I still love I love what radio's given me and can still do for me, but it's not the end-all, be-all anymore. There's other ways of getting your message out. So I'm looking at restarting up the Twitch channel coming up very, very soon. But I've been battling cancer for the last 7 months. As you can see, at this time last year, I was 273 pounds, a dangerous 273 pounds. My doctor and I were concerned about my ticker. Now I'm 147 pounds. And we removed my entire stomach and I had a scan done 3 weeks ago at the Cross Cancer Institute in Edmonton, and they can't find cancer anywhere. Now, we all know cancer, unfortunately, because it touches so many of us. Mm-hmm. But what I'm really finding is that when cancer touches your life in some way, I'm not a believer in hearing that people are cancer-free. I just think we have a way of battling it better, and we find it faster. I think we've got more ways of dealing with it. I think once you've been touched a little bit on the shoulder by cancer, you got to always be ready for the third act of the play coming along. But for me, I feel really good. I feel really good right now, and for me, it's going to be back to doing corporate podcasting work. And Robin Brownlee and I do a sports podcast once a week, which we're going to be restarting up in a little while. So I think I've come through this pretty well, and I'm just happy to be on. The last time I was on with you was in January, I think, and I had just got my diagnosis. And I had a wonderful conversation with Dale Howardchuk, and that was set up by Darren Drager. And talking with Dale, who went through basically, he had his entire stomach removed and a bit of his esophagus. It really hurt me deeply a couple of weeks ago when I heard that he was still having some issues and some problems, and now it's probably he's in a tougher battle now. By the sounds of it, I've reached out to Eric and the family a little bit, but the discussion I had with Dale was about 3 or 4 days before I went in for my surgery, which completely took my stomach out of play. I now go from my esophagus, direct connection right to my small intestine, so I have no stomach anymore. But Dale's pep talk to me absolutely got me through a very difficult 6 weeks where I couldn't even see my family. I had a chest infection that just about took me down. And now here I am today back with you guys, and I couldn't be happier.
Well, nor could we, by the way. But Arlene in Ottawa's watching. Marlene Mongovia, she says, best news of the day, Bryn, from a 16-year survivor. And I've had it in my family, so I know too much about what you're going through, having it touch my family terribly. So I know the fact that you getting back on the air and doing what you do is probably going to be the most important thing. And Craig Smith writing in, he's had his battles, our director of scouting. So obviously you've joined a community, Bryn, that's incredibly strong and incredibly positive.
And one other thing, Rod, too, and then we can talk a little sports because it's fun, more fun. The one thing that has blown me away here is the support has come from everywhere, not just media people, not just sports people or athletes. It's just what you find out is like I always remember somebody said to me, when you're going through tough times, you'll be surprised by who you hear from, and you'll be shocked on who you don't hear from. And that's not a negative on the people you don't hear from. It's just everybody deals with something like cancer so totally different. Some people want to get in there and help you fight it, and some people just they don't know what to say. And I totally understand it, but it's I've just been blown away by the response from everybody, and so many people from Saskatchewan, so many people from Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto. What we don't understand is we don't understand the big swath we cut, to use a Saskatchewan expression, I guess.
Love it.
we just don't really understand how much of an impact we can make on people's lives. And it's from a simple, ran into a guy at a shopping center here, a grocery store, long-time listener, and all he could say was, he said, you were part of my breakfast table with my wife and my kids every day. And we tend to forget that. We just, when we open up our microphones and we talk about sports or whatever we're talking about, I think we so often forget that people are bringing us into their lives. We're part of their family. And so I when you're going through a tough time, and just getting some of the responses from a lot of your people, it's overwhelming. It's just numbing.
Well, it feels good, I know. And so keep it up, my friend. And
thank you.
We'll make this a regular thing. Obviously, we're all going to work together on that Twitch thing and what we're doing here. It's going to be great. You're an incredibly talented guy. What do you list as your hometown, by the way? Because I never knew that. Wow.
Well, I grew up in Edmonton, but I I spent 5 years in Moose Jaw, which I love, and still love this. I still love the city. Yeah, no, you know why? Because people gave a crap about you, and when you're doing the play-by-play for the hockey team, well, you know what it's like, or the Riders. That's what they live for. So, you couldn't go on a date or you couldn't go out into town without somebody wanting just a little bit of your time. And so I really enjoyed my time in Moose Jaw. I really enjoyed my 2 years in Winnipeg where I was working with the Jets and on the Jet broadcast with Kurt Keelback. My time in Calgary was absolutely fantastic with Pat Steinberg and Kelly Kirsch and everybody. But for the most part, I've plied my trade in Edmonton and I got to work with Brian Hall, and I actually got a word in edgewise.
I don't believe it. I never heard that.
No. I got to tell you one story because he always used to refer to Louis Pasaglia as Louis Pasaya.
Like it was lasagna,
yeah. And you know what's funny is that I was going down to tape interviews with Wally and Lou, and I asked Lou, off the record, no microphone or anything, and now it's going to be on the record again. But I said, hey, Louie, I got to ask you about Halsey's pronunciation of your name. He keeps calling you Louis Pasaya, not Pasaglia, like all of the rest of us. And he realized that I wasn't recording the conversation at all. And he says, well, Halsey's right, but I never want to tell him that. And my mom would be very proud that he calls that G is silent, like in lasagna. He said, but once it gets out there and you become Louis Pasaglia or Craig Berube when it's Burby, you can't stop that.
Well, you actually can, but I didn't know that story, man. I did not. Oh, I got to wring Louis' neck. I look at him every day. Look. Yeah. He's right here. I got my Louis Pasaglia little doll.
Yeah.
So
it was now. I don't know if he was snowing me. I don't know if he was snowing me or just wanted me to feel bad or he just wanted to give Halsey a little bit of credit or whatever. But Brian is truly an amazing guy, and every market's got one or two guys that are legendary and have gone on and done unbelievable things. I mean, I can't think of too many markets where I haven't run across people where I go, wow, that guy was pretty amazing. Hey, the guy that I loved in Regina, and I loved all you guys, Bob Hughes and I had a fun relationship, I got to tell you.
Everybody
Bob
did.
For being
except the Riders.
Bob was so crusty until you called his bluff. And then, John and everybody, you guys know.
We all know it, yeah.
Every market's got somebody like that, and I just I've been fortunate enough to move around Western Canada. I would have liked to have worked in Vancouver a little bit, but I've always been a gypsy. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. That's not a politically correct word anymore. I've always been a traveler. I've always been a traveler. I've always gone to a market that I thought I would have a little bit of fun at. The Warrior play-by-play thing was a great break for me, and I really enjoyed it. I've never wanted to stay in the same place too long. I've always wanted to go and see what the world was all about. So I've been really lucky. And you know what? When you're going through a battle with cancer, and like I said, the six weeks with not seeing family or being able to have somebody touch your hand or whatever while you're going through it with the COVID stuff is as dark as it's ever been for me. But you reflect back on a lot of wonderful things and wonderful people. And I don't think there's too much left that I haven't been able to do that I would say, gee, I wish I had done that. My bucket list is almost complete. There's just about 2 or 3 things left.
Okay, well, we'll bring you back on to talk about them. 6 weeks, man. I wouldn't want to do 6 minutes. So you'll never go through anything worse than this, Bryn. Look, we got to go. 2 last things. One, are the Oilers winning? Are the Oilers winning today?
I think they're winning today. I think they're losing the series. I hated the matchup right from the get-go. Chicago's not a great team, but they do one thing exceptionally well. They're great off the rush 5-on-5. I think they're a top 3 team in the National Hockey League. The one thing the Oilers are really lousy at is defending 5-on-5. They're one of the bottom 3 teams. So this matchup was a bad one right from the get-go. And the other problem is that I've always believed in the playoffs that It's goaltending, and it's your bottom six forwards. And the Oilers aren't getting enough out of their bottom six forwards. I keep making the joke that Zach Kassian's got to get into the lineup one of these games, who's been in the lineup for the previous 3 games. He's got to do more. Those bottom 6 guys have got to do more if they've got a shot at it. But we'll see. I'm pretty optimistic tonight because I just think that Connor and Leon won't let that happen. But they need better support right now. Calgary's getting it. Calgary's got nice, solid goaltending from Cam Talbot, and their bottom 6 guys are really playing well. And I'm not surprised to see Calgary moving on. It's a shame what happened to Winnipeg injury-wise, but you know what? That's the playoffs, baby.
Okay, Bryn, let's hear it.
Okay, guys, I'm happy to say that the last time I said it to you, I didn't mean it for
literally.
Real. But that's it for me. I will talk again, and I'm out of here.
Gotcha. His classic sign-up. Thanks, Bryn. Bryn Griffiths, Mighty Mouth from Edmonton.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.